Hey there friends, it's Missy again. Thanks for joining me today. I'm back with a new layout. This one is for the Cocoa Vanilla Studio design team, and for the past week or so the theme on the blog has been flowers and hearts. And so I decided to use this cut file. It's a Cocoa Vanilla exclusive and I've never used this one, but it's a beautiful floral and leaf cut file, and I just enlarged it so it would kind of run off the page. And it's part of the Color Me Happy collection, so if you're shopping on the website, then you can see all of the cut files designed for Cocoa Vanilla. So my background paper here is from You Rock. That's the most recent boy collection, but this paper here is very neutral. It's just gray and white stripes, and I'm going to use some white acrylic paint here and my palette knife to kind of create a big chunk of white space and to prime the paper here. Sometimes I use gesso, sometimes I use acrylic paint. They both kind of give me the same thing, except the paint is smooth and the finish is different, and it's thicker, it dries quicker, whereas the gesso is a little bit thinner, it's grittier, and it just has a different finish. And it just depends on my mood and how much of the background I want to cover, honestly. Now I decided to back some of the flowers here with this gorgeous paper. I'm almost done with this paper. I've been hoarding it and using every single piece of it. It's from Make-A-Wish, and it is the most beautiful floral I think I've seen yet in my presence. And I had 2 sheets of it and I've almost used it. And all I'm doing is gluing it to the back of a couple of these flowers and then very carefully going around and trimming off all the parts that you don't want to see. And I wish I had an unlimited supply of this paper. I think the colors are just gorgeous. So pretty. So I'm going to do this again. I'm not going to make you watch me do this entire cut file, but I am going to back the flower that I just did and then the flower on the other end of the big flower. And so I've got multiple colors running through this big cut file. And I'm going to do a lot of mixing and matching here with collections to back these flowers. So the center flower I did with one of the pattern papers from Wild at Heart. It's a gradient from like a deep red pink almost to like a light orangey coral, but it matches perfectly. And then I don't have a green paper from any of my Cocoa Vanilla collections, so I'm going to use some of my Jane Davenport watercolors here and some scrap cardstock and just sort of create some green, and then I'm going to use that to back the leaves with. I'm trying to match up the green that is in that floral paper. That's way too bold, way too dark. I want this layout to be light and airy, but bright at the same time. But you can see the colors that I've got going here in these flowers. I don't want to get too dark with the green here. So I'm adding white gesso on top of it. I'm just kind of adding the paint, some gesso, and then I'm going to come back with some more paint and just kind of play around with it and get some different shadings of green, and I'm even adding a little bit of blue in there. And I think that matches a lot better. And this is a fun way to, you know, create your own colors. If you don't have a paper of a certain color that you want, then just get some white cardstock out, grab some watercolors or some gelatos or some paints, and just mix some up and make your own paper. You know, once this is all said and done and finished, you would never know that the leaves didn't come from a pattern paper. Plus it's fun to just kind of make it homemade and make it yourself, you know. You can control the colors. So see, all done. You would never know that I just used some watercolor to do that. Looks like it actually came from a pattern paper. So I'm going to use that cute selfie picture of me and my daughter from a few years ago. I have so many pictures like that, and they're my favorite pictures to scrap, honestly. They're just everyday fun moment pictures. Now I'm going to use the same watercolors and go back to my background here and just use some packaging and then some splatters and just kind of create some really pretty yellows and pinks with some hints of orange on the background, just to kind of make it look like there's these really fun splashes of color coming out from behind the cut file, because I'm going to situate the cut file kind of diagonal, just like that, the way I cut it on my cutting mat. So it goes from top to bottom, and I'm using some shimmers also here, just trying to get some different shades so it's not just one flat color. And I know I've said this a bazillion times, but the packaging technique is a great way to add mist or sprays or watercolor to a background. If you like the messy watercolor splotchy look, I highly recommend the packaging technique. It's hard to mess up. I mean, you know, when I first started it, I felt like this does not look good at all. I mean, not this particular layout, but just doing the packaging technique in general years ago. And it just, you know, you just have to work at it. You have to practice it and get it to where you like how it looks. And, you know, you need to know how much spray to add to it and when it's too much and things like that. But saying that, there's also no right or wrong way to do it. You know, it's just fun to get messy. And I know I say this almost every video, but it always looks like a hot mess when you're doing it like this. And then when you add the die cut back on top of it, it totally changes the way it looks. Now what I'm doing is smudging in some light pink with a gelato. And I can't believe I don't use any aqua on this layout. There was no aqua in those flowers, and so I was dying to add some blue. I felt like, I need to add blue, but then I thought, no, you don't. You don't have to have blue on every single layout. And I love how this turns out. I think all the pinks and the yellows together with the pops of green are really pretty. And I went with a black and white picture. I know I use those a lot, but not always. I just felt like the colors in the picture weren't really complementary to the colors in the paper. And, you know, you can't really go wrong with black and white because it's going to match everything. And it's very striking. I mean, the flowers are standing out, but the photo also stands out. And, you know, since we're working with photos here, that tends to be my main focus. I always want the photo to stand out. I don't want the page to be so busy that you're searching for the picture, you know, and you're like, where is the picture? I can't see it. Or it's drowned out by everything around it. And so I think the black and white helps with that. I went back to my favorite paper ever and fussy cut out some more flowers just to kind of break up the pink of that really big pink flower, just to kind of add some depth and some texture there. So I'm going to glue that down. And I did add some of the tangled thread there. It's kind of like an orangey, burnt orangey yellow color. It matches the orange in those flowers. And then I'm going to add some more here and there, a little bit down here at the bottom, and then a little bit more up at the top. Just for an extra pop of color, a little bit of texture, and just a little bit of, you know, something coming out from underneath there. And I thought about adding foam behind that entire cut file, but then I thought, no, it's just too much, and I'm gonna make this more of a flat layout. It's not really dimensional. I don't add foam behind the picture because I'm gonna tuck it underneath the leaves right there, so it looks like it's kind of wedged in there. And I'm cool with that. I know usually I'm all about dimension and creating all these layers, but this one just didn't really need it. I like how it was looking as it was, and I didn't want to do anything to take away from those beautiful flowers or the picture. And so I kind of kept everything flat. Now I'm just going through all the cardstock stickers. I've got some from Make-A-Wish, Love Always. I've got the chipboard from Wild at Heart, the ephemera die cuts from Wild at Heart. Just a little bit of everything. I keep all my Cocoa Vanilla stuff in a big container, and when it's time to make a layout, I just kind of get it all out and just kind of mix and match and see what looks good where. And I'm trying to, like I said, steer clear from blue. So I'm going to try to pick out hearts that have green or yellow or pink. And that one on the right that's vellum, it's kind of a greenish, it's more green than it is blue. And I'm going to go small with my title here. It's just going to be Forever in My Heart. And I'm going to leave that right on top of the picture there at the bottom. Because I felt like I didn't really have a spot for a really big title. And I didn't want to add anything back on top of the flowers at this point because I felt like they were so pretty. And I didn't want to muddy that up with a big title. Sometimes I struggle and I feel like I got to have a big title. I got to have a big title. But you really don't, you know, it just depends on the design, and it depends on, you know, you may have the perfect little sticker. I love that little sticker, Forever in My Heart. It says everything that I want to say, so why can't that serve as my title? And it can, and it's going to. So I do add some journaling. I usually do this at the end, but I kind of got to a standstill where I thought, I'm not sure what I want to do next, but I knew that that was the perfect spot for my journaling, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to go back to the little word stickers that you see on a lot of those accessory cardstock sticker sheets, and just add a couple of those in around the flowers here and there, just for some extra little, you know, things to read and little sayings, and just adds a little bit of pop of black and white since the picture is black and white. And I don't want to go too crazy with many more embellishments. I did pull some of these wood veneer hearts out of the Wild at Heart wood veneer pack, and I'm going to color these up. And this was super easy. I'm just going to use my finger and smudge some white gesso on top of them and let that dry. So now they have a white base, and I'm going to just spray some shimmers right on top of them. I tried to do one yellow, one pink, and one orange, but the yellow and orange wind up looking very similar. And then I discovered that they were too bright, and I just got myself a new paper towel. Can you believe it? My other paper towel is so used. I actually bought myself a whole new roll, because usually I have to run into the kitchen and grab one. I finally remembered to grab a roll that I can keep right here by my desk. So anyway, I decided to put those in a little cluster of 3 right there around the middle of the area, glued those down. And then I'm going to add a little bit more splatters, and I think it's getting close to being finished. Yep. That's the final layout. I love how this turned out. I think the cut file is beautiful. The colors turned out really, really pretty. It's bright, yet it's still nice and soft, I think. And the background turned out nice too. So let me know if you had any questions about any of this. I hope you guys enjoyed this. One of my favorite things about Cocoa Vanilla is you can create a girly layout, and then if you remember my last layout, it was all boy colors. So they have such a variety of fun collections that you can really stretch your color schemes. And so thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next video. I hope y'all have a great week.